So just really quick, how do you deal with porn, obesity? How do you deal with that on a state level? What do you do? You're in the government right now. You're the president. What do you do?
I would say, and I have a whole dissertation, it's called, on this, by the way, on my channel. We go through all the scientific research for 2 hours. If you don't believe me, porn is literally like a weapon. It's a drug, and it's destroying your brain.
It's been used in Israel as a particular form of weaponry.
And even in like World War II, for example, it's demoralizing. They would drop propaganda of soldiers being ravaged by the enemy force because it demoralizes you. Even from an amoral perspective, ignoring the religious aspect of it, you're watching some other guy have sex with a chick. Presumably that's what you would like to be doing, and it does actually take a toll on you mentally. It hijacks your brain's reward circuitry. It makes you depressed. So if you're a young man and you're watching, and for whatever reason you feel depressed, you feel like you don't have a lot of energy, it's tough for you to sleep, you can't make eye contact, you're socially anxious, there's literally scientific evidence proving that could be because of porn. Don't believe me? Watch the video.
And short-term pleasures as well, which people are more open to, and it also just destroys and fries your dopamine sectors in your brain. And I agree, that's the problem. Like obesity, it's a big problem. How do you I understand, we get it. How do you deal with this problem as like a status?
If a status, I wouldn't say I'm a status, but from like a state level,
wanting a state doesn't mean you're a status.
You could easily pass.
You're a status too, Ghost Girl.
Okay,
you could easily pass legislation just simply regulating it the same way that we regulate CP. Okay, if you're going to watch this, maybe you're 18 years old, fine, but we're going to make it so minors can't access it, because the average age that children are being exposed to it when their brains are the most plastic and malleable is like 9 years old, and that's assuming a normal distribution, which means 50% are even younger than 9 years old, and the effects of that are very bad. I mean, now it's even tough for them to do studies on people's brains because they can't find a control group who hasn't been exposed to pornography because it's so pervasive. And so I think you could easily regulate it like that, and people want to say, oh, well, I don't want to have to put in my driver's license to like watch porn. It's like, dude, 9-year-old, who cares? If you want to like jerk off to something depraved, like fine, but like we're trying to protect kids here. And there is something to be said about establishing barriers. Like you used to have to go to the VHS store, things like that. Making it more difficult for people to do things that are bad is good. Or even with the food, you go to Europe, you lose 10 pounds. Why is that? They don't put crap in their food like we do. And we've tried so hard to find the villain, whether it's fats, carbohydrates, red meat. The villain is that you're eating chemicals that your body doesn't know how to digest.
Yeah, it's predominantly because of Bill Gates and Monsanto buying up the lobbyist industry and going after the regulators and putting their people in charge that allows them to do all this crazy stuff.
Yes.
But, this is the problem, because it does need to be dealt with, and I think these are quantifiable problems that do need to be addressed.
We hear this a lot, and it's come up quite a bit, that there are people we know, friends of people who work here, who say that when they're outside the U.S., they eat this diet, that they eat their normal diet, and they're thin. They come to the U.S. and they eat the same food, and they gain 30 pounds over, like, instantly. And then we were like, oh, maybe you don't realize the portions are bigger. Maybe you started drinking. And the response I hear all the time is like, no, I eat the same thing. And then we even had one person be like, when I went back home for 6 months, the weight vanished.